Well, Priti Patel, the best Home Secretary in modern history. Sorry, did I say that? I must have been thinking about somebody else. Has decided she's going to have another pop at the police service, citing failure of leadership. Oh, isn't this wonderful? Let's discuss. How do everybody? Welcome back to the channel for a Wednesday. Hope you're doing all right. I'm not too bad myself. Yeah, Priti Patel makes me laugh. Pointing the finger at everywhere. Well, there's another YouTuber we all know. Well, well and good says, if you point your finger everywhere, sooner or later they start pointing back at you. Like this, and like this. Dinghy divers and various other things that haven't been sorted out despite various promises over the past several months. But let's not digress, shall we? Let's get back to the subject in hand. We have had very big problems with certain members of the police service in this country for a great amount of time. We know what happened with Wayne Couzens, an example that comes to mind straight away, abhorrent. And a young lady paid the price with her life ending in the most horrific way. Awful. And there are various other cases as well. I brought you a video of one the other day about a copper that has been done nearly 20 years later for an impropriety towards a lady that he committed while off duty. And there are more examples still. Well, there is the odd bit of, I suppose you could call it, workplace banter that goes on in the workplace where people are naturally going to discuss these incidents. And when we get into modern times, the old chitter-chatter between two people, you know, a bit of the old bunny, has turned into more sophisticated means, Instagram messages, pictures, and all that sort of thing. And it elevates it up because it becomes more graphic and more inappropriate. Now, have a listen to what Priti has to say. It's about just under a minute long.
With the culture and some aspects of the culture within the Metropolitan Police, I do think there are some very, very serious and significant matters that need not just following up, but further investigation through both the inquiry and through the inspectorate, primarily because we're not seeing one-off incidences. I think we should just be quite clear about that. We are not seeing one-off incidences. It's not isolated. We have seen now too many times, too many instances where in policing we just see the most appalling behaviours, the most appalling conduct. I also think it shows a failure of leadership in some quarters. So you've asked me the question about institutional misogyny within policing. There are cultural issues there. What we saw in the IOPC report absolutely points to, I'm not even going to say just misogynistic behaviours. I think it's cultural and attitudinal. You could see that through some of the messages that were in the report yesterday published. And that is why, through the Angelini inquiry, we are specifically looking at the culture of policing, because we've got to really pull back the layers in terms of not just attitudes, but what is that culture? What is that culture that permeates in policing?
A failure of leadership. Okay, so is it a failure of leadership to do with the police? Or is it a failure of leadership to do with those making policy that govern the police? That's the question, isn't it? We have a generation of people in this country who are a bunch of self-entitled twerps. They grow up and say, I'm going to be a policeman. And, you know, they get given a uniform and a bit of power. And it's asking for trouble. And the government, they're so desperate to recruit thousands and thousands of officers that, are people getting in the door that necessarily in another time would never have been a police officer. And that creates problems in itself. You look at Wayne Couzens, for example, his background started off in Kent County Constabulary, which is our local police force, and, moved on, but he had a reputation that followed him. Why wasn't that dealt with? And then some of these people that don't get, discovered or found out eventually get promoted, and that bad culture ends up going up the ranks, and sooner or later you'll end up with a problem. I think, as Priti says, the layers do need peeling back, most definitely. They need to be peeled back to the beginning. We need good officers in these roles, that come from responsible backgrounds, vetted properly. I suppose you could call it a cancer that's been allowed to go on for far too long, and we've reached crisis point. But I think she really needs to think about the wording failure of leadership there. I really do, because that could apply to more than she realises. Let me know what you think in the comments below about all this, but it's getting ridiculous. What chance have we got? What chance have us good old English people got in this day and age? It's beyond me. Toodaloo.